I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
the field in Castro's hands, and he's going immediately. Gets a good jump there over Green, and is pulling away. He is gapping early, even moving over to try to break up any sort of slipstream or help that inside line, making sure Green has his hands full coming into T1.
Be York's chance. Did Jason give Antonio just a little bit of a slow up? It doesn't look like it. Antonio down to the inside. Hopefully going to be able to make this move. Oh, that was close.
Soto both coming very hot with a head of steam. Plava going up to try to move out of the way and give up the slipstream.
Here comes Gilliland.
Slow down. Gilliland coming in, going to try to challenge for this podium. They're going to go too wide.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Gilliland and Plava come together. Gilliland's going to come back across the line in fourth place.
Quite going to get there. There's a little bit of a lock up there from the 46
goodness.
car. He's gone deep.
Whoa. I don't know how everybody was able to get through that. That could have been absolute tears for that front.
2024 Season 4, Round 10 of the Weekend Warriors in the Spec Racer Ford, brought to you by Ray Esports Racing to raise awareness for the ALS Foundation in honor of Jeff Telker, Russell Telker's father. Welcome to Slow Motion Broadcasting. My name is Randall McGrew. I'm going to be joined today in commentary and at the production controls by Daniel Zippy Salmon. We take a jaunt from the Mai Prefecture to the Ibaraki Prefecture here in Japan. Earlier, we saw the Formula Fords racing on a very wet Suzuka circuit, and now we see the Spec Racer Fords taking to the tight confines of Tsukuba, just over 1.25 miles in length, or just north of 2 kilometers in length, 9 corners, a drifting course going to be used for racing today. Daniel, what do you expect to see out of the drivers today?
I think today is going to be a very interesting dynamic. Obviously, again, we're at another one of these smaller courses, one of the tighter courses, and just running in one of the practice sessions with these guys. They run them quite frequently. I believe this was on a Sunday night, but forgive me if I'm wrong, Sunday or Monday. Let's be real, I'm not going to be very good with times right now, but it's fair to say that certainly, obviously, we've seen Jason Green with great pace, for example, but the way he described it is he had to run 25 mint condition qualifying laps to try and stay on the back of James Walker. So it is certainly, if you have a little bit of a mistake here, you can pay very heavily for it, dropping back through the field, and it's certainly going to be something to keep in mind. Are you going to go for that move? Are you going to try and stay with the pack? Like, there's a lot of factors to keep in mind. And not only that as well, fuel strategy, like we just saw it with the short layout of Suzuka. This isn't a particularly long track as well. Lap time's just under the 1 minute mark. So it's going to be interesting to see how this one plays out.
We join the cars now in qualifying. They have just about 8 minutes left in qualifying. Right now on your leaderboard, Aleix Plava leading the way with a 59.4. We're going to take a quick look at points before we try to find ourselves an onboard lap in the Spec 1. Marco Pinero, who's noticeably absent today, with a commanding lead in Spec 1 over Jason Green. Bobby West going to round out the top 3 in that division. Then we jump over to Spec 2, where we have Joshua Wilkie leading the way there, a pretty healthy lead over Paul Jackson. Paulo Bream trying to join in on that fight for second. In third position now, right on the leaderboard with a short margin ahead of him to close to get to second. And then the Masters, they're old, but they're not slow. Tom Gradwell leading the way in this division over Brad Cathcart. Adam Bradshaw, they're in third, right on the heels of Brad Cathcart. So this could be a big points day for Bradshaw. So keep an eye on that battle on track. These guys will be mixed up in there with the Spec 1 guys for sure.
Oh, absolutely. It's definitely been a very, very close battle. I'm going to try and pick a car off for you in just a second. Let's try and see who we can get for you. Let's see if we can find James Walker. Whereabouts is he right now? Perfect. Look at that, Randall.
As he comes out of the last corner, we're a little bit wide there, but you want to use all of that green pavement there as you exit the last corner. Going to take a nice late apex here in the first corner, a hairpin to the right. In this place, seems like it's all hairpins. You got a quick little left-right jink as he's going to have to deal with some traffic. And then you want to kind of drop into the camber here like you would at the Nürburgring with the carousel. He's going to have some slow traffic on the outside. Might compromise his time a little bit. Set up a nice wide entry here through the infield section. Turn 5, and then into the sweeping left, turn 6. Set up a good run. Going to get there that little bit at turn 7. And then turn 8 is a very tight hairpin to the right. You really want to open up that entry. Get a nice late apex onto the throttle, run all the way out to that exit curbing for a nice run down this straightaway as you approach turn 9. You're going to look for the barriers on the left. You're going to get all the car into those barriers before you get onto the brakes. And then trail braking through this final corner. It's easy to get wrong. There's a few different lines through here. We're going to see kind of takes a karting line. Going to carry some extra momentum mid-corner. Try to make that translate to a good time across the line. And that's a lap around Tsukuba, and you saw how much traffic he had to deal with. Look at that track map. It is going to be traffic nonstop for all of these drivers. The entire race, the leaders are going to have a couple laps where they're not going to have to deal with traffic, but once we get about 10 laps into this race, that we're expecting to go 41 laps, even the leaders are going to be dealing with traffic. And I think the key to winning here is to being in the lead when you finally get to that traffic. I think leader luck is going to have a huge role to play here today. You want to be the first car to get through those slower drivers and let them gum up everybody behind you.
Absolutely. I think the traffic is going to be a huge part of it. And myself, that's honestly, that's my favorite part of any race really, because not every driver will make use of that traffic. Myself, I have on numerous occasions used lap traffic to gain an advantage in my own fight for the grid, and it's certainly an interesting dynamic. Certainly, you know, if say you're going up into a corner, you have a lapped car ahead of you, you can kind of cover a line, and if they want to try and go around you, well, they can't. The lap traffic is that. I mean, just look at the pit lane as well. Incredibly busy there. Absolutely jam-packed here today. It's the Tsukuba.
Yeah, we have 39 cars in the session. We'll see if all 39 take to the grid. There might be some gaps that form during the race, but they will be few and far between. There's not really a way to line up your pit strategy to come out where you'll have some clean air either. So pit strategy, looking for a hole to come out in, not really going to be an option. So you're really going to be looking at how much fuel can you save, where can you save, when can you save, and try to save as much as possible. We might have an opportunity here to really just throw the fuel limit out the window. We might have a driver or two try to just go the distance without a stop. It'll be a little bit slower on lap times, but overall might actually save them enough time to win this race based on a no stopper. And we're going to see every race that I've done or spectated at Tsukuba has gone one or two ways. It's been the cleanest demonstration of close racing that I've ever seen, or just an absolute slobber knocker. I expect in these Spec Racer Fords, since they have fenders on them, it might be a slobber knocker.
Yeah, I can definitely see a little bit of car contact being on the cars. You can see here Jörg Manny sliding a little bit, and Jörg up. A little bit of a tap there from Wilkie, but Jörg Manny currently leading the Masters right now. He's in P7. Antonio Risi's close friend, he's there in P14. So quite the gap right now as Jörg is rejoining the track. That last lap would have been invalidated with the 0x contact. You can see Chris Murakami ahead of him and Adam Thompson as well. But an interesting thing about the qualifying right now, it is open qualifying. So these cars are all on track at once. You can see there just trying to get a clean lap. As you're saying, I say that. Jörg Manny heads there to the pits. Oh, the spinner there by Hayden Bramley. That's unfortunate timing. I'm not quite sure who that was, as he's currently trying to set a fast lap. But right now, this is the gentleman you got to keep an eye out for. This is a Les Plaver, seasoned veteran in the Spec Racer Ford. He's currently leading the field, but by a very small margin. A little bit of Zippy math here has 0.04 of a second in the gap between himself and James Walker.
And on a track this tight and this short, a gap like half of a tenth is more like 0.2. There's not a lot of time to be gained over your competition on a very tight track like this. You have such little time to make gains. So that gap, it doesn't look to be very big, but it's bigger than you think. Lesh was leading the way the entire practice session. He came out, immediately jumped to the top of the leaderboard over Walker as soon as qualifying started, as soon as the hot laps were coming in. And we're going to see really what Alesh's traffic management skills are like. He definitely has the pace to lead this group. And Marco Pinero has now joined the session, so we see Marco Pinero, a late addition here, going to be fighting to be at the top. He's already got his high water mark in third place, not too far off of James Walker, about half of a tenth, just like he's following Aleix Pleva. So keep an eye on this. He's going to be eager, but he's also one of those drivers that's likely to save a lot of fuel. He might be one of those drivers that's going to sit there in third or fourth place, bide his time, and maybe not even take a pit stop for fuel at all. We'll see if anybody's able to pull off that strategy today. Right now, Aleix Pleva leading their way with a 59.383 over James Walker and Marco Pinero. We have currently 20 drivers that have broke through the 1 minute barrier. So you have to look all the way down to Joseph Tarantino in 21st to find a driver that has gone slower than 1 minute around here. 41 laps expected, maybe only 40 once we factor in the pit stop. Maybe if there's a driver that goes the extra, maybe a driver that tries to go no stop, puts it up so that it's another lap on the board and then finds themselves in field trouble. So you're going to be dancing the edge of strategy here. Daniel, what kind of strategy do you think you would implement in a race like this?
I think the biggest thing, as crazy as it sounds, is I would not want to lead this race. I would be very much wanting to be at that top pack, but not leading that pack. I think that is going to be the crucial part of it. Don't get me wrong, would I want to be in the middle of a sandwich between these guys? Probably not, but equally so, you're going to have to hang out in the mid pack to be in that comfortable position. Go too far back, and when the moment comes to make that strike, you're not going to have the real estate to do so. You're going to have to be second, third, even fourth. They're going to be the prime real estate spots. Nobody's going to want to lead this race and punch a big hole in the air. Now, we've already seen it here. The draft is a crucial part to driving these cars, and certainly something to keep in mind as well. This is another gentleman I want you guys to keep an eye out for. Wan Chi Lin, definitely the best sportsmanship here in the Weekend Warriors. We've seen when he has had incidents, he has very graciously lifted off and let his competitor catch back up again and then start the fight again. Certainly the kind of driving that I would be very, very appreciative for, but hoping to see him move up a little bit more through the grid. But honestly, Randall, I think for me, the tactics in this scenario, try and keep the car clean, try and stay with the lead pack, and just to choose your battles. If you can save fuel and stay with the lead pack, I would do that and then fight everything I've got in the last couple of minutes.
The checkered flag is now flying in qualifying. We see some drivers still out there completing their laps, getting set for what's going to be an exciting 40 minutes of short track racing here with the Spec Racer Fords at Tsukuba. I cannot wait. It's going to be epic to see this many cars take to a course that's this small. Passing is going to be at a premium. It's going to be very difficult for some of these drivers to pass. I was on board with Jason Green through a lot of practice, and he was stuck behind a car who on the leaderboard was 1.5 tenths slower than him, and he was really struggling to get by. It took him 3 or 4 laps in order to get alongside, and then they had to go side by side through the better part of a lap for him to get the move done. So while the times are very tight, you need a couple tenths of pure pace in order to get the pass done quickly. So any pass is going to have to develop over a bunch of corners. Qualifying now over. We're going to get that grid up as soon as it is officially set, and it looks like it is done. Aleix Pleva puts it on pole with a 59.383 alongside James Walker in second place. Marco Pinero in third place with Kane Halliburton starting on the outside of him. Evandro Dantas starting in P5 with Jason Green in P6. Jörg Manny, your Masters Division pole sitter, starting P7 with Hayden Bramley starting to his outside. Yanxi Lin in ninth place with Scott Russell showing up in 10th place.
As we have a look at 11th, it is the first of the S2 drivers, and you guys are getting very familiar with that name by now. Joshua Wilkie again. Josh, thank you for helping me. Trying to improve my talent, which Anybody who's met me knows that is indeed quite the challenge, so power to him. Bobby West alongside him. Great to see Bobby is back this week. As we head down to 13th, we've got Jason Perry. Now, that is the Spider-Man liveried car, ladies and gentlemen. But if anybody from the Spider-Man Marvel universe asks, we know nothing of the sort. Antonio Reese is there in 14th with Tom Gradwell in 15th. Simon Mayer alongside in 16th. Chris Murakami, we've just seen him there in the Formula Fords. He's alongside Kane Lasky. Both of these guys are back for the SRFs in 17th and 18th, respectively. Daniel Wood takes 19th with Adam Bradshaw in 20th.
21st is going to see Joseph Tarantino starting alongside Andrew Love in 22nd. Slow motion broadcasting zone, Adam Thompson going to start 23rd right there in the middle of this massive pack of cars alongside Paulo Bream. Brad Cathcart starting 25th with Joaquim Osbeck going to be starting in 26th. Jim Brewster, the Masters driver, starting in 27th alongside league administrator Stevie Ray, the Pied Piper of pit strategy. Keep your eye on that 911 entry. Whenever he comes into pit lane for service, you know that the pit window is officially open. Jan Janchik there in 29th. He's got a lot of ground to make up, but we've seen him with a very impressive performance last week. And then in 30th position, Paul Jackson in the 249 entry.
As we have a look at 31st, it is Philip Berry in the Cookie Monster Motorsport machine alongside Mike Knudsen in 32nd. Guido Marzuki, very, very talented in a Formula B. The SRF not quite under his control yet. He's there in 33rd. Andrew Van Lingingham, my apologies there, he's in 34th with Jason Gerard in 35th. Otis Grigori in 36th. Gary Wobart takes 37th with Michelle.
Zippy, I hate to cut you off, but we're about to start here.
That can wait. And here we go.
Aleix Pleva leads the cars out of the final corner, and on the way they go. 2 wide, 3 wide coming up to turn 1. Aleix Pleva on the inside, going to have a very tight line, but again, it manages to cover off the lead. Marco Pinero taking a look up the inside, looking to fight for second, looking to fight for third, going to slot in fourth there in front of, it looks like, Hayden Bramley. And we got a bit of a backup. It's going to be a huge checkup in the field as they're this tightly bunched coming into the hairpin of turn 4. It looks like everybody's gotten through cleanly so far as they make their way through turns 5 and 6. Still got some 2 wide battling going on. Everybody's trying to sort themselves out. Jason Perry looking to get in the line. No, he's going to make a move up the inside. Going to make a very aggressive and opportunistic move, get one spot, and now he's going to find himself right there on the rear bumper of Josh Wilkie. Is he going to look punchy coming into the turn 9? He's going to look to the inside, shows the nose, going to pull alongside. We see some more battles ahead of them, but Jason Perry going to try to get this move done on Wilkie as they come out of the final corner to complete the first lap. Jason Perry's getting it done here at the start.
Well, he certainly isn't hanging around, and we see 2 wide, 3 wide potentially there as they head down into turn 1. Yuanchi Lane going side by side with Wilkie there. Honestly, battles happening throughout the field. JG2, he's having a battle alongside Hayden Bramley in the As the Price machine, able to get on the inside. Now, this corner here was an interesting topic of discussion. Myself able to make some very interesting passes on that green tarmac. Now, it was strongly advised not to do so, but certainly it worked in my favor, so I have to see if anybody else has my rather unorthodox tactics there. But you can see the field, for the most part, trying to spread out. Aleix Pleva at the front, Kane Halliburton right behind, James Walker in tow, and certainly I think Aleix Pleva kind of holding the short straw at this point. Single file for the majority of the pack. We head back a little bit further there. How far back do we have to go? I see the 555 machine looking to go side by side.
Kane Lasky looking to the inside there as they come into turn 9. The 555 going to make a move on the inside as well. Gets that done in turn 9. And then a couple cars behind, we see a few more side by side as they shake themselves out through turn 9. Brad Cathcart there in the mix. Looks like he's going to be caught 3 wide here possibly. Yes, he's going to be the meat in that sandwich. As that red car on the inside wisely backs out. Cathcart going to have the preferred line, going to retain that position. We see Adam Thompson there holding his own, trying to make his way through some traffic. We see, who's that off ahead? It looks like Wilkie, snake bit for 2 races in a row, gets pushed off there, going to fall back into the clutches of Paulo Bream in that 555, and that's a pretty big implication on the points leaderboard. Paulo definitely wants to get around Wilkie here to try to close that gap up to the leader. Wilkie has a pretty comfortable margin, but he definitely doesn't want to make it easy for Paulo if he's going to get past. Right now, it looks like he's going to retain this position for now. He's lost a handful of positions in a little bit of time, but it could have been worse for Wilkie.
Definitely, but what is more important for Wilkie is Andrew Love is right ahead of him. That is the S2 pole sitter right now. Also, the S2 leader, my apologies there. So, interesting battles happening throughout. Looks like Murakami's getting in a bit of a fight there. Yeah, you can see he's going alongside Wan Qilin. It looks like Andrew Love looking to try and make a move as well. Is it going to be buy one, get one free against Wan Qilin? And yeah, it's fair to say, he's managed to hold on, but for how long? Wilkie right behind him. Battles happening throughout the field, ladies and gentlemen.
We've had a change for the lead. Kane Halliburton has taken the lead away from Aleix Pleva. Not sure if that was a mistake out of Aleix or just a good, clean overtake, but we see a small gap, not much one to really speak of, but that gap will close down as they approach turn 9, and Aleix has a bit of that slipstream. You have to wonder if Aleix maybe gave up the spot or didn't fight too hard for that lead, or if Kane just put a really good move in on him. Right now, the leaders stay in single file. Kane Halliburton leading the way. Aleix looking pretty comfortable there in second for now. See a lot of the pack getting single file. We see back in the midfield, some drivers going for positions here. Wilkie looking to defend or looking on the inside, trying to get past Wan Qilin because he needs to get ahead of him to get up to Andrew Love ahead of him. So he's going to get the move done. Wan Qi now falling down the order pretty quickly here after that incident, and now is really just holding on for dear life. He's going to have Adam Thompson breathing down his neck. There's Paulo Bream. Paulo's going to have a couple cars between him and Wilkie. He's going to be eager to get that done. Wan Qilin has some pretty heavy damage on the front of that car, so you have to wonder exactly what happened. And look, maybe like there was a checkup. I'm going to have to guess lap 1 on the entry to turn 4. A big checkup probably caught him out. Now he's going to be carrying a lot of damage. We're going to see a replay here. Is this Stevie Ray struggling to come out of turn 1 possibly?
Well, I'm not sure. I got a little bit of a warning. Let's take a look. It looks like he's on alongside Andrea Favini, if I'm not mistaken. And there you go. That's that cream curbing I'm on about. And I guess maybe I was a little bit luckier there than some of the other drivers. But Stevie Ray certainly not being able to use the Zippy move on that turn. And that certainly put him down quite back through the field, looking to try and make a safe rejoin. And as I have a look at the results, that's put him... well, Evandro Dantas doesn't appear... I don't think they're on the track. This would be the last place runner. As I say that, Fotis having a little bit of an unfortunate event. One of the newer drivers here today, and I got to say, one of the lower IR scale as well, 384 I rating, so certainly a challenging field to be in at this point.
Yeah, it's showing Evandro Dantas, who is
that's a
down
move.
34 sparks from where he starts. Adam Thompson making a move on Paulo Bream, trying to be the last of the late breakers there, trying to show off his Daniel Ricciardo skills, gets it a little bit too late, ends up giving that spot back, and then a few others, and now is that Kurt Nunez? No, it's not Kurt Nunez. Jan Janchik there alongside. We know that Jan Janchik is no stranger to aggressive driving and is going to look to get this spot away from Thompson. Janchik with a very, very impressive performance last week. Definitely had his elbows out, was getting the stuff done. We'll see if he does the same with Adam Thompson. He's going to go for a move on the inside in turn 8. Going to get alongside, but not quite there. Adam Thompson's going to have the better run off that corner, going to easily cover off that position. It's very, very difficult to get these moves done. Even on the inside, you'd think it'd be very easy to get it done, but you kill your momentum getting pinched down so much by the car on the outside. We see a little bit of damage there on Adam Thompson. You got to wonder how much that's affecting his handling. Definitely not a high-speed track, so it shouldn't affect the straight line too much, but that could be weighing heavy on his mind.
Certainly something that I would be keeping an eye out for. Damage here can be very, very, very influential. And despite the fact it's not the fastest track, you can see Wan Qilin absolutely falling back through the field. You can see there, that's Thompson right behind. So what Wan Qilin really needs to happen is he needs that pit window to open so he can come in. I believe they get a faster pair here at the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford, and he needs to be able to use that, cash it in as quickly as possible, because right now the pace, he's suffering intensely right now. We know he's a top driver, and just the car not able to deliver for him at this point. You see Thompson having another lockup. We're going to return back to the lead. You see Kane Halliburton still leading the pack there, and the guys for the majority in single file. Looks like James Walker's looking to try and take that second spot though, putting a nose out there, maybe just trying to apply a little bit of pressure, not fighting too hard for the move. And I gotta say, I do enjoy the paint, very reminiscent, I believe, of some of the Porsches used in IMSA with the well, it's fair to say I feel very good about my dental having looked at the car of the Total Downforce racing machine. I do believe my colleague is having a little bit of a quiet moment there, Randall. Are you there?
Yeah, you're right. I forgot to hit the button.
Oh,
I gotta hit the button to talk.
Welcome back, Randall.
I've had the joy of commentating on Aleix Pleva in this league quite a lot, and I can tell you he's pretty cool under pressure. Not expecting him to make any big mistakes with Walker trying to push his buttons a little bit. Looks pretty comfortable there in second place, not looking to make a move on a Halliburton. So maybe you're right. Maybe second place is the place to be, but they have not caught traffic yet. We're 10 minutes into this race, 11 and a half minutes in this race, or 10 and a half minutes into this race, and they have not caught traffic nearly as quickly as I thought they would. You see Yanxi Lin there in turn number 4 having a little bit of problems possibly. No, and then Wilkie racing there with Andrew Love. Gets around Andrew Love as they come up to turn 8. A little bit of bump there maybe. Oh, the big checkup there out of Wilkie as he came into that corner and definitely closed in pretty quickly on Tarantino in front of him. Had to panic brake a bit, and we see Hayden Bramley is going to be the first person into the pit lane, not Stevie Walker or Stevie Ray. Stevie Walker, Stevie Ray. But he's also joined by Chris Murakami. So we have a couple of drivers coming in very early. Maybe they're hoping to find some clean air out there. Chris Murakami having to avoid a bit of an incident here. Is that Adam Bradshaw ahead of him, or is that Kevin Adrian ahead of him?
I believe that is Adam Bradshaw, and ahead of them is Simon Mayer. Now, I have a crash warning from Murakami, and okay, that's why. I'm not sure what happened to Bradshaw. There's a warning for him, warning for Bradshaw, and I believe that was enough for Murakami to go and have to justify that pit stop. Hopefully, he cannot have to two-stop it, but I'm going to keep my eye on a battle back here when I find it again. Hang on a second, ladies and gentlemen. Bear with me here. I spoke too soon. Stevie Ray has also entered the pit lane, so it was on the same lap as the other drivers, so Stevie Ray is still playing the role of Pied Piper pit strategy. So Chris Murakami, Brad Cathcart, Phil Berry, Stevie Ray have all come into pits. Joshua Wilkie is not coming into the pits since all that happened. So Joshua Wilkie came in with a 9.6 second stop time. Everybody else in the 10s or 11s, and we see Wilkie really getting battered there by Andrew Love coming through that first corner, and what a gaggle formed off of that. Paulo Bream there, Adam Bradshaw. Wilkie, it just goes from bad to worse. He takes Paulo Bream with him in there, and he definitely came in for service and to get some repairs. Paulo Bream, Jason Perry now have entered the pit lane, so we're seeing some early pit stops here. We're going to see who's going to hold out to the very end. We're going to have a time during this race for pit road is going to become especially busy, as Kane Halliburton now putting a driver a lap down. It looks like Stevie Ray going a lap down. And who do we have on the back of him? Jeff Walker has gotten all over the rear of Halliburton. He's gotten his way around Pleva and is now really dialing up the pressure here on Kane Halliburton. We're going to see if he's eager to make a move or not. Right now, got the pressure dialed up to 10. Aleix Pleva with a little bit of a gap ahead of him. Should be able to close that up pretty easily, but he's got Marco Pinero right there on his rear bumper pushing. We know that Marco Pinero is an excellent fuel saver, so he's definitely going to be in fuel saving mode for most of this race. We'll see if he's able to stretch this out to a no-stop strategy or not. Right now, Kane Halliburton showing the pace, leading the way over Jeff Walker, Aleix Pleva, Marco Pinero, and Jason Green. Well, I don't know where you're getting Jeff Walker from, but certainly James Walker is currently running in P2, Randall, but it's okay. I will forgive you for that one, sir. It's James you've got to worry about. But it's interesting to see Halliburton out front. We've seen very much a hit-and-miss race approach. We're certainly packing a very serious I rating here. Halliburton with 8,662 I rating points, which is absolutely incredible, but definitely been a little bit of hit or miss here at the Weekend Warriors, and is also one of the coaches over at the Motor Racing Academy, as is this gentleman, if I can find him here in the standings. Here we go, Hayden Bramley. So different tactics from these two drivers right now, and I just want to mention as well, this is a driver that you guys often see do this tactic, and he usually does not post a qualifying time. And it's fair to say, I'm pretty sure he's done a similar thing today, because he's currently up 21 positions, ladies and gentlemen. Huge gains.
Absolutely. We see week after week out of Andrea Favini, and you really have to wonder if he qualified that car and raced with the leaders, where he would be on the leaderboard, because he's definitely got chops. He knows how to manage traffic. He can get moves done. I want to see him next season put in those quality times and race with the big boys and really see where his muscle flex lines up with everybody else. because he's got pace. He knows how to get around people. So I want to see him do it against drivers that are more on his skill level and see what kind of marks he can actually put up on the board.
Certainly, you know, don't get me wrong. I mean, some people race, you know, because they want to see how far they can get through the grid. Other people want the outright win. Other people are just worried about their class and stuff like that. But right now, Scott Russell, he's got Jörg Manny approaching behind him. Now, these guys, it's Masters versus S1. And Manny currently leading the Masters. Antonio Reese, his buddy, not that far behind, though. If we have a look, just a couple of corners, Kane Lasky between them. So we know Lasky has pace. And I do wonder if he can help pull Antonio Reese closer to Jörg Manny. Certainly, if I was Reese, I would be very much hoping that Lasky's got pace to help pull me along and chase my nearest rival. Certainly, Jörg and him will have a fantastic fight. But right now, Jörg Manny applying pressure to the back of Scott Russell.
And I want to take a quick look at the leaders. Right now, Kane Halliburton has lap traffic in his sights. Currently, the car in 35th, Phil Berry, is going to be the first that they catch at the moment. And they're less than half that front straightaway ahead. So Kane Halliburton definitely going to be in a position where he's catching lap traffic soon. So maybe that leader luck is going to come into play here very soon. Or we might see him decide to pit as soon as they catch traffic and try to keep away from lap traffic as long as possible, as he's got James, not Jeff Walker, all over his rear bumper. And Aleix Pleva has rejoined this battle, closed that gap up, and brought Marco Pinero with him. Marco not looking very interested in making any moves, still in that fuel-saving mode. We'll see how long he's able to stretch this fuel run. Kane Halliburton leads them out of turn 8, down the straight, towards turn 9, with a comfortable little gap there. He gets a good run out of that corner, so not going to be feeling any pressure from Walker this time around. But those cars ahead of him keep getting bigger and bigger in his perspective, and it's really going to be interesting to see what happens once these leaders catch that lap traffic. Jason Green here trying to close that gap up to Marco Pinero. Probably going to have a really good opportunity to do that if Pinero is indeed saving fuel to try to join this lead pack. Going to running right now in a really good 5th position overall, up 1 spot from where he started. And so we'll see if he's able to join these and if he gets racy and how passive Marco Pinero really is.
Well, it looks like Jörg Manny has just managed to sneak his way past Scott Russell, so that's bad news for Antonio Reese, but good news for Jörg Manny. But let's say, fair to say, Russell definitely not had the best of luck in recent races, not just the Weekend Warriors. I honestly feel that the guy has got a crosshair on his car. Certainly at times he's been, for lack of better words, murdered on the racetrack, and thankfully he's still with us today, but currently running P8 overall. And, you know, having a pretty clean race so far, up 2 positions. Jörg Manny holding steady about where he's at. Bobby West up 6, and one of the biggest gainers in the top 10, except for this gentleman here, Kane Lasky. He's currently up 9 positions. Antonio Reese right behind him. These guys kind of running in their own little pack right now. I do wonder if JG is going to be able to catch up. Currently, he's just over a second behind Pinero. He's going to need to push just that little bit more if he's going to catch that pack, but I do wonder if the lap traffic of Philip Berry is going to help him achieve that.
It absolutely will. We're going to see this lead pack get backed up as already we're seeing some battles ahead of them as Phil Berry gets around the slow car. That's a very dangerous position. Aleix Pleva really had to check up for that 36 car of Fotis Gregori, and really had to check up and give up a couple tenths of a second there. And that's going to get Jason Green much closer to Marco Pinero, so it's working out in his favor as they are already starting to get involved with some of the lap traffic. Now we see that ahead, Kane Halliburton is definitely up there towards the rear bumper of Philip Berry and going to be getting slipstream. And now he's going to have to get a little bit aggressive and try to get these lap cars out of the way. First he's got Berry, and then he's got Paulo Bream. He's going to look to the inside. It's a very, very risky move, but it keeps his foot in the door. Phil Berry gives him just enough space. He wasn't really expecting a dive there, but you kind of have to expect it when you got the leader coming, trying to break up this battle for the Phil Berry slides. It's going to hit Kane Halliburton. Leader luck does not play out for Halliburton in this case. Phil Berry gets a little bit wide there in turn 4, and slides out in front of Halliburton here. He's got some heavy damage to the front end of the car. We'll see how it affects the drive as he's trying to defend against Aleix Pleva. Aleix eager to get around him now, where before he was very passive. And another car is at Wilkie. Wilkie ahead has trouble with the exit of turn 8. Is that not Wilkie? No,
that doesn't look like Wilkie. That's a 96 car. Let's have a look here.
and see who that is. Who is that coming into the pit lane? Kane Halliburton going to come in to get service, get fuel, and definitely get that car repaired and try to rejoin this battle for the lead. So we'll see where he comes out and if he's got any clean air and able to set some fast lap times. But who is that involved there? Is that Phil? No, that's not Phil Berry.
I could tell you it was a 94
Was it James
or 96.
Walker?
Let's have a
Was
look.
it James
here.
Walker?
96 is
It
James
was,
Walker.
yes.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
James
It was
Walker. So Walker getting it wrong there in turn 8. Doesn't lose a lot of the time. Lost some momentum down that straightaway, but is now able to close the gap up back to this pack on the run up to turn 9. Going to be right there behind Jason Green. So forgive us, James. You're kind of a new driver to us, so we didn't recognize the livery straight off from that angle. But gets it a little bit wrong there. Still involved in this battle for the lead. Aleix Pleva leading the way. Marco Pinero up to second. Jason Green up to third. We're seeing some drivers coming for pits. Gary Wobart, Guido Marzucci, both in the pits. Now we see Walker coming into the pit lane. He gets it a little wiggly there on pit entry. A tricky pit entry here at Tsukuba. He gets it woed down, brings it down to the pit lane, speed limit, and comes in for service. Aleix Pleva continues to lead the way.
Well, certainly it's going to be an interesting race indeed. And I do wonder as well, maybe Walker was trying to head for the pit a bit earlier and just didn't manage to get that sorted out. But I'd say the wrong part of the track for that. Maybe he just didn't want to be ahead in that pack. A lot of questions unanswered at this point. But you can see here, Aleix Pleva, Marco Pinero, basically it looks like they're having a bit of a battle for the lead now, which is quite surprising. Certainly if I was Pinero, I would be happily sitting in the draft of Aleix Pleva. Let him do the work for you. JG2, he's certainly sat in a nice tidy position, currently showing as P3. How about Bobby West? Well, he's a little bit further behind. It's about 2.5 seconds back. So at this point, not yet able to get it done.
Yeah, he's got a lot of gap ahead of him to close up in order to get any of that slipstream. You see Marco Pinero going to go the inside of turn 9. The challenge for the lead of this race. Aleix Pleva not going to fight him very hard. He gets it done there at the apex. Marco Pinero crosses the line. New leader of the race. Seeing him up front. Going to go defensive here into turn 1 to make sure that Aleix Pleva doesn't try to punch him back immediately in the next corner to get that lead back. Pleva not very interested in it right now. Let's Pinero defend some open air there. Pinero going to lead the way here into turn 4. A bit of a lockup out of Pinero. Is going to run a little bit wide, causing both Pleva and Green to check up. But then it's going to end up working out in Pinero's favor as he drives away, gets a good drive off the corner. Going to open up a little bit of a gap here, but that'll go away after turn 8. I've seen some smoke on the track. Not sure what's going on there. It looks like, oh, there we go. There's a bit of a lockup ahead of Pinero. So they're closing up on some lap traffic in the form of Paulo Bream. So he was the one ahead of Barry. They still haven't managed to catch him. So Paulo finding some pace here as the leaders start to close in on him. 21 laps down. We're looking to do 40 laps here now that the pit cycles have started. My calculations saying just over 39.5 laps, which is going to translate to 40 laps. So we're probably not going to see the bonus 41st lap out of these drivers today. So that's 1 lap per minute of the race. Kane Lasky here fighting with Antonio Reese. Kane Lasky, this race up 11 spots as it stands. He's all about peace, love, and overtakes today here at Tsukuba.
Well, it's certainly been an interesting race so far. We've seen a couple of incidents, and it is actually quite a hard place to pass. Now, myself, I would find this this long right-hand hairpin that's coming up in just a moment. We'll go on board with Antonio Reese. This corner here, for me, that is one of the prime real estate points to try and make a pass. And you can see Lasky having a little bit of a wiggle there under braking, maybe running very slightly wide. But Antonio Reese keeping the car clean at the minute. Certainly not had the best luck. We've got another car coming into the pits. We'll have a look on that a little bit later. I think it's Jason Grider, so not too much to worry about in the battle for the lead. And you can see this corner as well. I struggle with it, and Antonio Reese closing that gap very, very quickly there. But, you know, you can really use a lot of that runoff area. And certainly, I don't know how hard Reese is fighting at this point. Obviously, Jörg Manny is up the road, but it's quite a considerable margin. Maybe perhaps trying to use the draft from Lasky to slingshot past Manny in the pits.
And we see a couple different lines developing there in turn 9, where Antonio Reese was running that tighter entry. Kane Lasky really opened up the entry and got a nice late apex. And while Antonio was able to close that gap up as they got to the apex, it really looked like Lasky was able to get to the throttle earlier and harder and was able to drive off that corner much better, which is going to be key to any sort of drag race on the last lap. You might want to defend the entry, but that nice wide entry is going to give you a good run. Some of these hairpins are very difficult to pass on because they're so cambered that the driver on the outside is able to retain a bunch of momentum. As we see Kane Halliburton making a move here on Joseph Tarantino on his recovery run. He's coming for pits, got a fresh repair on that car. Now going to try to track down James, not Jeff, James Walker. I almost said it again.
I know.
It's terrible. I've called everybody Jeff today.
Okay, and you can see here Jeff McGrew doing an absolutely fantastic job on the commentary there. As you see Jeff Walker going a little bit wide there. He's being cased by Jeff Halliburton. I'm sorry, Randall. Like, it was just too good not to. Everybody is currently going to be Jeff for the next little brief portion. But you can see here what's interesting about this battle. Obviously, these two guys have already pit. Both Walker and Halliburton taking the earlier pit stop. So it'd be interesting to see how they're going to emerge in the end, in the grand scheme of things. Currently, just over halfway through this race. Still a lot of real estate to cover, and especially with such a big grid, ladies and gentlemen. We currently have 39 cars on the track with minute lap times. That's a lot of traffic to deal with.
It is a lot of traffic, but I want to tell you one thing. Kane Halliburton being that close to James Walker is a good sign for him. That means he was able to come in for repairs, didn't lose a whole lot of time due to that unfortunate incident with lap traffic. So he might be in contention to win this race still. Stevie Ray ahead of them, going to be on a different lap. Stevie Ray's definitely already pit, and he's got Gary Wobolt behind him, between him and those approaching cars who are racing for the overall win. So we're going to start seeing cars on different laps. As Wobolt is going to get out of the throttle and let Walker go, let a few of these drivers go. So Stevie Ray up next on the menu for these drivers as he's running a bit wide there in turn 4, probably focusing on that mirror a little too much. So at this stage, there's Stevie Ray. He clips that curve and looks a little unbalanced, but gets it going pretty good. And Jörg Manny possibly with an incident here coming through that turn 6, it looks like, on the run up to turn number 8. Gonna get a boat up there pretty good. Looks fine. And then, gets to the throttle a little aggressively, slides the car out, and loses a couple of spots, a handful of seconds, and gets it going again in the right direction.
Well, certainly that could have been a lot worse, but let's have a look to see what battles are happening throughout the grid. Looks like Adam Bradshaw and Hayden Bramley are currently going at it. So Bradshaw certainly, we know that this gentleman is not somebody who likes to just give away places. He will fight tooth and nail, and certainly provided some great action there. He's currently chasing Jim Brewster. Hayden Bramley, one of the drivers who I believe has already made a pit stop, so he's going to be looking to slingshot past this pair as quickly as possible. Andrew Love currently leading S2 right behind him as I hear a lot of sound there. What's going on? I see smoke in the distance. Who's that now?
We see a lock up there out of Bradshaw, going to give the spot up to Bramley, who's now going to try to get around Jim Brewster. Bramley was one of the guys that was probably looking to make his way up the grid a bit and try to challenge for the win. Now mired in this traffic, is going to kind of see those chances evaporate. We see that Kane Halliburton and Walker are both very far ahead of him. We're going to take a look here at Joseph Tarantino coming out of turn 1, looking good. Maybe this is what happened here in turn 4. Not Kane Halliburton. Joseph Tarantino here on his own, gets it wrong, slides it up to the top of the track, off the track, and then rejoins in a decent spot, just barely missing Favini there as Favini made his way through. Let's talk about Favini for a second. 26 spots gained.
Absolutely incredible drive by Andrea Favini as I can hear more sounds of crashing metal. Hopefully not seeing it. You can see the battle happening behind him actually. Bramley's managed to make it past Bradshaw so far. Brewster's definitely putting his elbows out as well. And it's fair to say Bramley is going to have his work out. That's the move I'm on about. Definitely a little bit of a send. Bradshaw's there on the inside, gets caught up. Bradshaw and Brewster side by side. Andrew Love, looking behind him, trying to work out how do I get past these guys. Bramley, I gotta say, very cheekily forcing his way through, but it's the same move that I did. It was definitely a little bit of a send, just not quite as clean as I did the other day. And you can see he really slowed up there. Brewster hot on his tail, and that I believe is Gary Wobolt getting very quickly out of the way as you see himself. Yep, no, he's out of the way. Bramley, Brewster, Bradshaw, Love, and I believe that's Paul Jackson behind. It is. So Jackson and Love currently fighting for the S2 win. You've got Bradshaw and Brewster fighting for the Masters for P4, and then Hayden Bramley just fighting everybody, trying to get by. We'll see Kane Halliburton and James Walker much further up the field. These two guys joined, I'd say, at the hip, but more sort of nose to tail at this point. I think realistically Halliburton trying to save fuel behind the number 96 machine.
Yeah, both these drivers showing a lot of pace. They're in some clean air too, so they're able to work together here, try to set some good lap times. This might bring them back into contention for their overall win. And we see Aleix Pleva, our leader, comes into the pit lane, gonna give. He had gotten around Marco Pinero, so going to give that lead back to Marco Pinero, the first of the leaders, of the remaining leaders, to come into pit lane. We'll see how long he stopped for. Daniel Wood in the lane ahead or behind him. So we got two drivers in pit lane right now. Aleix Pleva, stationary, still stationary. Going to be out with a 10:32 pit stop. So not the fastest stop time for Aleix Pleva, and that's going to put him behind Walker and Halliburton.
Ooh,
so Halliburton
slide.
is definitely back into this fight, and we see Aleix Pleva get a little bit of drifteroo going on there in turn one as he comes out of the pit lane there in front of Stevie Ray. So Stevie Ray hopefully wore his brown driving suit today as he sees that develop in front of him. So your effective race leader right now, James Walker.
Well, I do honestly think that LS obviously did not want to get stuck behind Stevie, and that's not a criticism on Stevie's pace at all. It's more sort of that he sees the target ahead of him, and maybe, you know, just wanted to showboat in front of the league admin. As I believe Marco Pinero now heading down the pits. We'll see where exactly he emerges. As you know, we got James Walker and Kane Halliburton, the ones to watch, going for the undercut. We'll keep an eye on it here. Where they're going to be, you can just see Marco Pinero. That you see the pace car, then Marco Pinero behind, and there you go. There comes Walker. There comes Halliburton. Pinero's already on the move. He's going to slot in. There's Aleix Pleva and slots in between them. So this could be good news for Pleva. As you see, Marco Pinero again sliding that car. It seems to be on pit exit. These cars definitely not having as much grip on that very tight line, and this could be good news for Pleva though, because if he can draft off the back of Pinero, and Pinero can draft off the back of Halliburton, still definitely a bit of work to be done. This top battle could be back in the mix by the end of the race.
I'm honestly shocked that it's Walker and Halliburton that are the effective leaders of this race. As Jason Green inherited the lead, he's going to stay out. Bobby West going to come into pit lane, so not going to have an opportunity to lead a lap. So Jason Green not only getting a bonus point, going to lead a couple of these laps. Bobby West in the pit lane. I'm going to take a look. Marco Pinero was stopped for 9.32 seconds, so he was able to close 4/10 just on stop time on Kane Halliburton and James Walker. This still gave up the lead to them. So we'll see how that battle develops. We're going to see where Bobby West comes out. Jörg Manny into the pit lane as well. Bobby West already back on his way with a 9.92 stop. We take a look at Kane Lasky coming through turn 4 now. There in front of, is that Antonio Reese? He's still in front of Antonio Reese. These drivers been in this position for a while now, just trying to work together, not looking too racy with each other at the moment, trying to work their way through the pit cycle and then see what happens on the other side. But for now, Lasky, the leader of this pair, Jason Green, still out there on track, has not come into the pit lane yet. Scott Russell up to second behind him, has not yet pit. We're going to see Kane Lasky and Antonio Reese both go into the pit lane. Jason Green into the lane ahead of them. So leader in the pits, that pair into the pits together. Very tricky pit entry there for Antonio Reese. Not only is he going to be mostly blind, but he had to check up a little bit earlier than he would normally have to.
Well,
Simon Mayer going to move up to second. We'll see what Jason Green comes out.
And there goes Walker, there goes Halliburton and JG2. Where is he going to slot in? There's Aleix Pleva, and he's going to be right behind. So again, these guys not quite able to hold on to Walker and Halliburton at this point, but potentially the P3 spot will be up for grabs. A lot of work left to be done, but good news there. Bobby West a little bit further back. Stevie Ray holding his own, staying there with Bobby West, so definitely has the pace to be at the front. Just certainly not had the best of luck, having a few little whoopsies, and that's okay. It certainly happens, but I do wonder how this is going to develop as we look back through the thing. How's it going? Antonio Reese a little bit slower out of the pits. Kane Lasky able to make a move, and now Reese under pressure from Daniel Wood and trying to chase down Paul Jackson. So he's in the middle of a sandwich right now. Paul Jackson currently leading S2.
And Paul Jackson has inherited that lead at S2. Has Jackson come into the pits yet? No, he has not. So he and Andrea Favini are the only two out there that have not come in, other than their now new leader, Simon Mayer, as Scott Russell comes to the pit lane. We're going to see these drivers looks like they're all going to get ready to come into the pit lane here this time by. No, Antonio Reese is going to dip out and stay out. So Paul Jackson going to pit. Antonio Reese going to get that spot away from him. So actually, Antonio Reese is already pit, so no surprise there. We see Simon Mayer leading the way right now through some lap traffic, trying to get clear. Going to have some clear air in front of him, but he's not going to have many laps to get back to keep that clean air. He's going to have to come in for service. We're just under 7 minutes left in this race. Some drivers are holding out to the very end here.
Well, certainly, and it looks like Halliburton has made his way past James Walker, so it's going to be interesting to see how long that lasts. But Simon Mayer looking to lead a lap very, very briefly, and certainly, you know, it's a good feeling, albeit if it is short-lived. But it's interesting to see as well. So as we have a look, this is your overall race leader right now. The gap to Pinero is about 2 seconds back behind these two guys as Mayer's come into the pits. And I believe that's Joseph Tarantino ahead of him, certainly on different laps at this point. But Walker, there you go. You can see two fights happening. So Pinero and Plava are going at it. JG2 just down in the background. Bobby West a bit further back. So these guys have to decide, are they going to work together at the end? Are we maybe going to see a little bit of bump drafting between Pinero and Plava? And then not only that, does the track have the real estate to make that achievable?
I don't think the bump draft's going to be really good enough here because by the time you get to the other car's bumper, unless you're already on it coming out of the previous corner, you're going to be there for the braking zone. So not really a huge enough straightaway here to get a bump draft going very effectively. I'm looking right now at the track map. Halliburton has got a bit of a gap ahead of him. So 2 cars ahead of Mike Knudsen and Guido Marzucci, who are battling for position ahead of them. There's a small gap ahead that they're going to be able to close up on about 3 seconds. So they're going to have some clean running here. They might be able to manage their pace a little bit where they won't be dealing with these cars too much at the end of the race. Either get them taken care of with 2 or 3 laps left to go, or real slicing and dicing there out of Marco Pinero to go defensive on Aleix Plava. Aleix is going to probably be seeing a little bit of red after that move. Not a late block, but an aggressive block, an aggressive defense out of Marco Pinero. We've seen that work really well for him in the past. We've also seen it work out not so well for him in the past. So we'll see how that shakes out. Jason Green kind of licking his chops, hoping these two keep fighting and give him an opportunity to get both of them in one go.
I do wonder if he's counting on them to take each other out. Certainly in a field of such caliber, it's not a tactic I would go for, but I think he's maybe buying his time. With the draft being so powerful in these cars, I do wonder if he's sitting back, kind of, you know, planning his move, waiting for his moment. But certainly as well, you know, like he's doing well in the points, and certainly how hard do you want to fight? Like, don't get me wrong, every point counts, but you know, survival is key. And certainly we've already seen that when these guys go side by side, look, you see Pinero covering up the inside, Plava making sure he really has to go to the inside, and Plava's run wide. This is the opportunity JG was looking for, and that's it. Plava's dropped back. JG2 now taking the 4th spot.
Now he's going to set his sights on Marco Pinero. Wants to put his foot on the bottom step of that podium. He's managed not only to get around Plava because of that mistake, but he's kept that gap very small to Pinero as we didn't give up any time by being distracted by Aleix Plava running wide there in turn 1. He's going to be in a pretty good position here coming out of turn 8. Enough gap ahead where he doesn't have to brake too terribly early and should be able to get a good run off the corner. Let's see if he's able to close up here on Pinero and try to get this move done to the turn 9. Maybe not this lap, but keeping that pressure on Pinero. Pinero looking a little defensive. That's kind of shading over to the right a little bit to say, hey, I'm going to defend if you go for the move. It doesn't have to defend. So able to take a good line there through turn 9. We see some lap traffic ahead of them and try to get this done. That's Guido Marzucci and Mike Knudsen ahead of them. So the leaders have gotten around those two, and then they have about a 5-second gap ahead to Joseph Tarantino. So the leader's going to be looking good for the rest of this race, most likely, as we have just under 3 minutes left to go. Jason Green going to have to get punchy here. We see a car stricken off there on the side of the track. Who was that?
Bradshaw.
Whoever it was. It was Adam Bradshaw there off the side of the track. So he had an incident coming out of turn 4 that put him off the track there at the entry to turn 5 to provide a bit of a distraction. Jason Green going to get a good run here. Looks like Pinero gets to the throttle pretty early, though. That gap gets a little bit bigger coming out of turn 8. So Jason Green's going to have to try something a little different to try to get around Pinero in the closing stages of this race.
But certainly the battle is not over yet. You can see Aleix Plava is back on the hunt. right behind JG2. I mean, there's only so much you can do. I do wonder if these guys are going to start to go free wide. And an interesting thing about that lap traffic, Guido Marzucci and Marzuki and Mike Knudsen, these guys are fighting for position as well, so they're not really going to want to surrender. You know, no sacrifice, no victory, to quote the great Wiki from the Transformers movie. I say, well, Sheila Booth, he wasn't really that good an actor, but the movie was good. I'll give him that. Joshua Wilkie currently sat out the race. Evandro Dantas, I'm reading, he was given a end-of-line penalty, so certainly he's out of it. Wan Chi Lin is out of it. Where's the people I'm looking for? There we go. Great, Guido Marzucci. Marzuki, damn it. And Mike Knudsen there, they're having a bit of a scrap. And you can see there is Pinero right behind him. So only so much they can do. How much are they going to lift off? Don't get me wrong, blue flag will apply. But, you know, it's up to the faster car to make their way around. Are these guys both going to lift, or are they going to keep fighting? And I think I have my answer. The fight is on. Guido keen to try and get that spot away as he's run very wide there. Maybe, yeah, I think that was a courtesy there given to the faster pack.
And Marco Pinero had to take a very tight exit there. A little too tight. It's going to put him under pressure from Jason Green, but it puts him on the defensive line for turn one, so he's not going to be under threat of overtake immediately. Then he's going to have the Mike Knudsen on the outside there coming out of turn one. So Knudsen gets out of the way of all three drivers. Plava looking very punchy. Might have a good run here through turn four. Look to get punchy going up to turn 8. He's going to close in on the rear bumper of Jason Green. We are on lap 39. The leader is going to be coming around to the white flag this time by. So we'll keep an eye on this battle. We need to keep an eye on the battle up ahead of them as well. They got clean air in front of them for a good 5.5, 6 seconds. So the fight is on for the win here if Walker can close that gap up. Pinero going very defensive down the straightaway on the approach to turn 9. Going to keep a nice tight entry here. This is a good opportunity for JG to get a good run through this final corner. And gonna have a good run, gonna be able to get alongside, gonna have the inside line as they take the white flag. Final time into turn 1. Can Jason Green get it done under braking along the inside of Marco Pinero?
That's
yes,
contact.
Only just a little bit of contact, and he's gonna have to back out as we see who's that behind.
Guido.
Gets a little sideways of Guido Marzucci, and now Pinero manages to get back in front and close that position off. And here comes Plava on the exit of turn 4. Gets a good run, but not enough. As they go through turn 5, we're going to see a dive bomb out of somebody here in turn 8. We absolutely must. Jason Green showing his hand very early. Going to cause Pinero to go defensive most likely. No, he does not defend at all. So they're going to get a good run out of turn 8. We see James Walker. Does he have anything at all for Kane Halliburton in turn 9? Halliburton opening up that entry. Going to get their run through turn 9. Walker all over his rear bumpers. It's not going to be a drag race as we see Walker Halliburton has to tap the brake coming out of the corner just to get that front end under control.
Look at that.
And now Green has gotten around Pinero with fuel trouble. Pinero is going to win the Adam Thompson Award for fuel management here and gives up 2 spots right at the end of the race. It puts Jason Green onto the podium.
Well, we got to have a quick look at that and see exactly what happened, because I don't... Oh, is that a splatter?
That is a sputter, yes, coming out of turn 8.
Yep.
Car already struggling for fuel. There goes Jason Green. There goes Aleix Plava, and he's just holding on for dear life at this point, trying to get keep as many spots as he can. He's going to have the lap traffic car behind him, so he didn't have to worry about that one too much. But he was definitely struggling for power coming across the line. Just about a third of a lap, a quarter of a lap, too little fuel there for Pinero. See Jančić coming home just behind Adam Thompson. Jančić with an impressive performance last week. Struggled a bit today, but still a decent race for him. Coming home 19th. Paulo Bream going to come home 23rd ahead of Paul Jackson.
Well, it did look like there was a bit of a freeway fight going on between Thompson, Jančić, and Brewster near the end. Certainly lots of battles happening throughout the field. And you know where I'm going to put my camera now. Looks like Mr. Green has found his target. Let's see what exactly is going to happen. I do remember there being a pretty awesome jump here. We're about to find out. You can see Thompson alongside JG2. Now, I don't think it's a victory lap, despite the fact he's happy to be on the podium. Let's find out exactly what's going to happen. Ladies and gentlemen, if you'd like to raise your flags, here we go. Carnage.
Instead of a jump, we're just going to see a pile up here at the short course cut through. There is a short layout for Tsukuba here that uses that cut through. The big jump here at Tsukuba. The big jump for Tsukuba is actually on the other course, the 1000R course. where you can actually leap up and through the fence onto this layout, the 2000 layout. So not a big jump here on the 2000 layout. We just see them all piling in for the standard Weekend Warriors Demo Derby post race. Even more drivers are going to join the fray here. And what a race! What an action-packed race today.
What an absolutely fantastic race. But let's try and take a look at these results. So in first place, Kane Halliburton was your winner today, with James Walker in second. Jason Green absolutely snaking that third place at the end, with Aless Plaver very closely behind in fourth. Marco Pinero winning the Thompson Trophy today in fifth, with Bobby West in sixth. Hayden Brownlee taking seventh, with Kane Lasky in eighth. Daniel Wood in ninth. And then Antonio Reese managing to take the Masters win today. Well done, sir, in 10th.
11th place, Simon Mayer got the lead a couple laps of this race by stretching that fuel stop until the very last moment. Comes home in 11th. Scott Russell going to finish down 2 spots from where he started in 12th. Jörg Manny comes home in 13th. Andrea Favini, who made his way up from back of the grid, up 25 spots to 14th position. Chris Murakami up 2 spots from where he started in 15th. Tom Gradwell going to come home in 16th, with Andrew Love behind him in 17th. Adam Thompson 10 works his way up 5 spots to finish in 18th, ahead of Jan Janchik in 19th. Jim Brewster going to round out your top 20, up 7 spots from where he started.
As we have a look at 21st, we had Brad Cathcart there with Jason Perry in 22nd. Paulo Breme takes 23rd, with Paul Jackson in 24th. Mike Newton, one of the newer comers here today. Certainly not a name I'm super familiar with yet. And my apologies if you've just been around a long while and been away for a little while there. But he's there in 25th, with Stevie Ray as well in 26th. Alex Van Lingham, I didn't really see too much of him today. He was there in 27th, with Guido Marzucci in 28th. Joachim Osbeck takes 29th. And Gary Wobolt closes out your top 30.
31st is going to see Michelle Viglini in front of 32nd, Jason Greider. Joseph Tarantino comes home at 33rd, with Adam Bradshaw in 34th. Philip Berry, who we saw get sideways and get collected by our eventual winner, finishes in 35th place. Fotis Grigori is going to come home 36th. Yanshi Lin is going to have a day to forget, finishing 37th, as is Joshua Wilkie coming home 38th. Then Evandro Dantas, I'm not sure if he even took to the grid.
He took a penalty.
Yeah, he took an end-of-the-line penalty. I don't think he actually started the race. If he did, he didn't even complete one lap, comes home officially 39th.
I gotta be honest, I would have seen an end-of-the-line penalty as a chance to do the Andrea Favini challenge, but I do understand that you've been able to catch up with some drivers. Now, I do believe we got a couple of people waiting in the waiting room. Who would you like there, Randall?
I got my hands on Jason Green. Jason, you come home third after a battle there with Marco Pinero in the closing stages of the race, and fuel mileage ended up deciding that one once and for all. Tell us about your race today.
Oh my God, guys! I feel like I stole a couple there. I had resigned myself to finishing in 5th behind Marco and Alish. And yeah, Alish made his mistake. I got in front of him, and then I think Marco was making a couple of mistakes and fuel saving at the same time. So, almost got him in turn 1 on the last lap, but we had a little bit of netcode contact, so I had to lift a little bit on the exit to so that we both didn't go off the track. But yeah, it was a great battle between all 3 of us, and didn't really expect to finish in front of either of them. So it was a lot of fun.
I expected to see a lot more interactions with lap traffic in today's race, and it didn't seem like there was a whole lot of it. What did you find the traffic to be like in today's race?
It was definitely there. It definitely wasn't as bad as previous seasons, I think. For the most part, I don't know if there was I know there was something with when Kane got damage. I couldn't really see. I was too far back. But besides that, the lap traffic was very well behaved and did a good job of, not impeding us, but also not destroying their race as well.
So you managed to get your way up onto the podium. Is there anybody you'd like to thank or shout out before we let you go celebrate the couple positions that you stole here at the end?
Shout out to James. He beat me in both of the strength of field races this week at this track, but I learned a lot from him while he did that. So, so shout out to him for making me faster at this track.
And we know that if you learned something, Jason, the entire league learned something because you are the first guy to share your data, to share your setups, and help other drivers out. So kudos to you for being that kind of guy, and congratulations on an absolutely great finish today.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it.
And that was your overall P3 finisher, Jason Green. And Zippy, who did you find?
Well, it's been a little bit of time since I've got to talk to this gentleman, but it's great to see he's back in here. Antonio, tell us a little bit about how your day went.
Hello, likewise. Same here. Always good to see you as well. Well, I was not expecting too much since I'm not very good on this car. On any car, I'm a little bit slow than anyone. But well, it somehow I could still stay on the track until the end. So it was a good sign, I would say.
Well, it certainly was a very challenging field as well. I'm not quite sure what happened to Jorg, but you guys, the friendly rivalry continues. Certainly got the better of you earlier. You had a little bit of an incident in the Formula Fords, but this time you emerged victorious, taking the Masters win. Now, Antonio, it's great to see you back here in the commentary booth joining us, and not only that, on a victory step, but tell us a little bit, how did you feel about this track and sort of the challenges that presented for you?
I was watching the podcast, the Ray podcast on Tuesdays, and I was listening to Jason Green saying that we have to really save tires, not braking late, and otherwise we're going to get a very slow car. So that was relying on that information. I was trying to keep my tires as much as I could. Basically, was like that.
Well, that's definitely a very valid tactic indeed, and certainly something that's often not really thought about, because while iRacing will say there's plenty of tread left, it's not just the tread that's remaining, it's the temperature as well. Certainly reach a certain point, and for lack of better words, it falls off. My terrible English. I mean, it's I said my terrible Canadian.
It's not worse than mine.
Well, I'd say that you probably talk a lot cleaner than I do, Antonio, and fair play to you on that.
Thank you for your kindness.
But before we let you go, is there anybody you'd like to thank for today's success?
Yeah, I would like to thank to Steve Ray. Steve Ray always. It's my guy, and for you guys for the broadcast, and for the sponsor, the cancer organization, and also for the drivers and for all the viewers, and basically.
Well, speaking of sponsors, we have had a lot of them throughout the seasons of the Weekend Warriors, so thank you to all of those people. This one is sponsored by, we're sponsored for the ALS Foundation in honor of Jeff Telker. That's Russell Telker's father, so let's keep that one in mind as well. Actually, Formula Fords was sponsored by SMB, so thank you very much for that. I know who that was, and we'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. But Antonio, congratulations once again on the Masters.
Thank you.
Win.
Nice to see you guys. Okay. Bye-bye.
Nice to see you too, sir.
Thank you.
That brings us to the end of the race here at Tsukuba. I think we have some upcoming broadcasts, though. If Zippy can get that pulled up, we have upcoming broadcasts both for Slow Motion Broadcasting and Pit Road Productions. Next Wednesday, November 20th, Group 1 and the Miatas and TCRs for Ray Esports Club Racing League are going to take to Mount Panorama, one of my favorite tracks. I'm definitely not going to miss that race. The next Saturday, the Formula Vs for the Weekend Warriors going to take to Lebanon at 3:20 p.m. Eastern on November 23rd. And the next Sunday, we see the Formula Fords at 1:45 p.m. Eastern, going to be at Redskogen. They're also racing under the Weekend Warriors banner. And then these very same Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Fords that you watched today in this same time spot next week will be taking to Monza, which will be an absolute barn burner at the Temple of Speed. And then Wednesday, December 4th, Ray Esports Club Racing League Group 2 in the GT4s will be taking to COTA there in Austin, Texas at 8:30 p.m. Eastern. So lots of action for you to see in the next week or so here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. And then Zippy, what do we have coming up on Pit Road Productions?
So Pit Road Productions is sister channel to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and currently on there we have 2 championships in play. We have the BIS F1600 Championship, where the drivers compete to drive a real Formula Ford. Not only that, on the alternate weeks between that, we have the BIS Radical Canada Cup, and there you can see, well, actually in both series, you can see real world drivers and sim racers fight head to head for a chance to go and get to drive a real car. Certainly the Radical, they provide, I think last time it was an SR3, Zach Buchanan and Ozzy Milwain getting that privilege, getting that, well, sheer honor, honestly. I mean, Randall, wouldn't you love to drive one of these race cars in real life? Would that excite you?
Absolutely, especially the Radical. Man, that would be wild.
Certainly, I can relate. I have a friend nearby, and he has one, and he's never let me drive it, understandably so. But it's fair to say I've been up close and personal, and the engineering in a lot of these race cars is incredible. So certainly, a lot of drivers keen to get their hands on that. Racine Vazuri currently doing very well in the points now, driver coach, and a name that some of you guys may be familiar with. But Randall, that just about does it for the upcoming shows. If you'd like to close us out, please do the honors, sir.
Absolutely. But first things first, I'd like to mention that as we enter the giving season, please consider the ALS Foundation for your charity donations this year. ALS Foundation, they're racing to raise awareness for that in honor of Russell Telker's father, Jeff Welker. So please, whenever you get your wallets out for charity here at the end of the year, consider the ALS Foundation. Go over to their website, check out what they're all about. A great organization, and would love to see them get some help. But that brings us to a close here today at Tsukuba for the Weekend Warriors Spec Racer Ford. My name's Randall McGrew. I've been joined by Daniel Zippy Salmon here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Thank you so much for watching. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you again soon.
I see a Budweiser. Go ahead and hold it up.
Yes.
That was the biggest clue.
Yes, right
Doing
there.
it for Dale.
Man, it's so many gimmicks, right? I feel like they're making it a lot more complicated than it needs to be. I mean, a lot of people, you get polarizing opinions on DRS.
I know you guys know exactly what I'm talking about here, but sometimes the effort, it's all about the boys. You know, like, hey, you know, life sucks sometimes, and you need the boys.
iRacing kind of always has a tendency to kind of buff
Yes.
the new cars just a little bit. I'm not going to go on record saying it's because they want people to spend money on their platform and buy all the new content.
Confirmed.
But
Yes.
but
The field in Castro's hands, and he's going immediately. Gets a good jump there over Green, and is pulling away. He is gapping early, even moving over to try to break up any sort of slipstream or help that inside line, making sure Green has his hands full coming into T1.
Be your chance. Did Jason give Antonio just a little bit of a slow up? It doesn't look like it. Antonio down to the inside. Hopefully going to be able to make this move. Oh, that was close.
Soto both coming very hot with a head of steam. Plava going up to try to move out of the way and give up the slipstream.
Here comes Gilliland.
Slow down. Gilliland coming in, going to try to challenge for this podium. They're going to go too wide.
Oh, no!
Oh, no! Gilliland and Plava come together. Gilliland's going to come back across the line in fourth place.
Quite going to get there. There's a little bit of a lock up there from the 46
goodness.
car. He's gone deep.
Ooh, I don't know how everybody was able to get through that. That could have been absolute tears for that front runner.